Welcome to the Grimfrost Podcast. Today we welcome back Einar Selvik, musician, composer, and the man behind the global phenomenon Wardruna. Welcome back to the Grimfrost Longhouse.
Pleasure to be here.
Great to have you here again.
Yes.
Because you were the very first guest we had for this pod exactly 2 years ago. And now you're here for the first episode of our third season.
Yeah, it feels fitting.
Yeah. So, how you been?
Chronically busy, I would say. But it's been good, eventful. But in this, I guess, being busy is a kind of a luxurious problem, I guess. So, but can't remember when I was here the last time, I was probably in studio mode, I presume, working on the album.
Sounds like you actually said something around that studio mode thing.
Yeah, which was, that part is, of course, a very rewarding, but also a very challenging part, I think, or demanding in a way, all-consuming.
It is, isn't it? Because you have to go all in on it.
I can't be involved in a lot of other things when I'm doing that.
No, you need to focus. But as you said, since last time you've been very busy, and I mean you released your 6th album. Yep, the Birna. You've been on a massive world tour supporting this album, and you made a documentary.
Yes,
that's a lot of stuff. But we're going to talk about all this stuff. But let's start with the touring, I think. So 6 albums in. How do you build a set list?
That's you know,
because I know.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much thought goes into it and how challenging it is, because in a way you're doing storytelling, you're doing energy work in a way, and also there is a big logistical question. Who does what in what song? For our instrumentation, certain instruments you shouldn't do too. Like for instance the horn instrument. If you've played a song that is really demanding for the lip, you can't. You have to have a break until you go back into that instrument again. And things like that. A lot of small details. So it's actually quite a challenging jigsaw. And introducing new songs, of course, is a very big part of especially the process we've been doing now, supporting in a new album. Then of course I'm a believer in carefully introducing new songs, and also to find its right place in the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, I totally see that, because you kind of want to have as you said. Well, let's go back to something you said first, actually, because you said you're building a story and it's energy work, narrative work. Which comes first, then?
Or
is it something else that's more important?
They're very well. I like to. They're all woven together, I think. So whether you're telling a story, because telling a story is also about energy. When to demand space, and when to lean back, and when to pick it up, the energy, and when it's time to let things sink in, and that introducing new songs, for instance, is a big part of that, because a song that is new to people, you listen in a different way. For us on stage, we won't necessarily get that energy feedback that you get from playing songs that people know.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So picking the right places for those, both for us and for the audience, is of course really important.
Plus, also the way I feel, anyways, is you want to have a nice flow of the music from start to finish, so that you just don't blast through it, or you're not too mellow. Like, it has to be like some ups and downs in the energy, like you say.
Yeah, and also I believe in daring to demand something from the audience as well, to make it a little bit challenging at first. For instance, keep the tension going for a long time before you sort of introduce some sort of release. So daring to be a bit bold sometimes, I think it has its benefits, but you don't necessarily feel it there then and there, but perhaps later in the set you will sort of get a reward for it as an audience as well.
I think you're right. I think from my perspective, when you say this, it actually kind of makes sense to how we in Omnimarth think about these things as well. I mean, we're not here to talk about Omnimarth specifically, but just saying.
Yeah.
But it's how you connect with the audience.
Yeah.
And to make them a part of the whole thing, not just you being the artist and them. The show is the audience and the artist together, basically.
It's a dialogue. It's such a it is a dialogue for 100% dialogue, and that can be, the smallest things that is that energy exchange. It can be things from, like, you see people singing the lyrics, or if they are dancing, or if they are if they are emotional, or if they are verbal. It can come in all sorts of forms, and all of those things. It's part of that dialogue, that exchange of energy, which is why also, you can play the same room, same set list 2 nights in a row, but it's going to be 100% different energy, because you're not the same. The people gathered in the room is not the same.
Yeah.
I think even if it were the same people, it wouldn't be the same.
No.
It's all moments. It's all in the moment.
Exactly. So speaking of that, I mean, you played like some very specific and amazing venues, like the Royal Albert Hall. You played the Acropolis. You played Pompeii on this tour, I seem to recall.
Yes.
And you played like in Native American reservations. Like, how does playing different venues like these and different countries affect your experience as a musician, and like,
well, it's I think some of these, actually I think that some of these very charismatic, strong energy, for whatever reason, places, they can be a bit challenging, because or challenging is perhaps not the right word, but they can be demanding, in the sense that
almost daunting, or
I don't know, they can steal your focus. So it's demanding in the sense that you have to really focus on your job, on being present, or else you're gonna, like, I'm very disciplined in terms of not creating stories before I go to a place. I going to Pompeii or Acropolis, until I got there, I have the focus that it's a regular day on the job, because that's what the place deserves and demands, and that's what the audience demands.
Plus, it is.
Yeah, it is. It's the same job you're doing, just that it's going to be more difficult because the energy of some of these places, just for their aesthetic or the history you just feel, or the expectations you feel in the whole crowd, and also for us, of course.
Plus also the crowd being in that specific place, I imagine their energy is going to be different.
100%.
Yeah.
So so in terms of preparation, it's almost like I push it away. In a sense, I try to be very neat and disciplined, and sometimes I succeed, and sometimes I don't. It's. But that's the school.
We're not machines.
No, and that's the school also. Now we've done it a few times, playing in some pretty spectacular places. Every time I learn something new. But of course, it is humbling, and especially those moments when you're truly present and you're truly able to also enjoy it. Just really soak it in. That's profound. That's something I will never forget.
Which venue would you say has been the most exciting then to play?
I don't know. I don't know. And that's, playing maybe the first show we ever did but in front of the Gokstad Viking ship in Norway, because... Yeah, I had no clue how it would work. We had never played live before, so okay. So that kind of pressure. But of course, for this tour in particular, I would have to say that Pompeii sticks out, because just one thing is the history and that sort of magnitude. It's something you grew up with, the history of this totally unique, powerful place, but also in popular culture. It's with Pink Floyd's performance at. So it sort of has a place in modern music history as well as this legendary place. So when that invitation came, I'm a pretty mellow guy. I don't get visibly very excited, But I think that's one of the few occasions where, I got more expressive.
I can imagine, because to me, it sounds like I've never been to Pompeii myself, but it seems like such a insane place. I remember when I was a kid watching a Swedish documentary about Pompeii, and when they showed all these rooms where people who died in their sleep and all this stuff, and just through the television set, that was amazing.
Yeah, and but it was also a sort of a anti-climax, because when I woke up that morning in Pompeii, my voice was gone, which is, of course,
that's terrible.
That's the nightmare, I was like, what do you do then? Because that's going to be a panic thing. Yeah. Well, first thing is don't panic.
Yeah.
And well, I think actually, when you, I think because I got a cold, it was like extreme air condition on the plane there. I didn't sleep properly the night before because traveling and all of that, and which is, of course, the most important thing a singer does on tour is sleeping.
Yeah.
Because that's when you rebuild everything. So it was a number of things that sort of pointed the wrong way. So I could sort of feel things coming up, but I don't know. You have to stay silent. You have to drink a lot, and of course I have like these things I do. Like I always have a lot of like 97% concentrated ginger brews and things
ginger
like that.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is very, very good. And of course, I had to be really silent the whole day, and not use my voice at all. And stay calm. Don't stress the body. But of course it was horrible, exhausting in a way. Just but thankfully when I started doing the warm-ups before, I could feel that okay, I have the whole range is still there, but I didn't know how long it would last, so I sort of needed to hold back the first songs, but then I could feel like.
I think you need to trust the microphone and the PA.
Yeah.
Like you need to learn how to trust that, even if you need to be softer.
Yeah. Hold a little bit back. Absolutely.
For me, often holding back can actually be worse.
Yeah.
Than going full on.
Yeah. The strange thing is that my audio. Our front of house technician, he said I was that I was actually between 1 and 3 dB decibel louder than I am normally. So,
really?
So, but in my mind, I was holding back. So,
well, actually, that actually does make sense, because I heard somewhere that they did a test with sprinters, and this is completely different. I know. But they asked a sprinter, one of the best in the world, to do like 100-meter dash at the top of, like, to give it everything. So he did that, and they timed it. And then he had to rest for a little bit, while, and then he was told, like, now do one at roughly 85% of your capacity. And he was actually faster.
Yeah.
Because when you do it like full on, you tense up.
Yeah. And
that's what I feel myself as well. Like if I go too hard, obviously, then it's like
I know, but there is some perfect logics to that. That sounds reasonable.
But I actually do have a tip for you if you would ever encounter such a situation again, because this is what I was given by a Swedish vocal doctor who specializes on opera singers. And he said, you have to get a resonance tube.
Yes, I do that.
You do that?
Yeah.
Because those, when you use those, like I wake up like you, and I do that for like 10, 15 minutes, and then I have my speaking voice back. And
yeah.
It's really good stuff.
Yeah, it does work, but I need to be better at using it. For me, I've only used it like in crisis situations, which is
I use it as a part of my warm up now.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah. Anyways, so then you know what it is.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So you did all these amazing places. You played all these places in the world. Did the new Birna material, did that? Do you feel that it changed or evolved as you performed it live over time?
Yes, absolutely.
How?
Well, you never know how it's gonna work. You never know if it's gonna work. That's my experience. I've been fooled several times with songs that I think will work either better or not so good, and it can go both ways. With these songs, I think, I don't know. It's something with some songs are very immediate in the sense that they, I don't know. You find your place in it in that form. For me, performing a song on stage is very different from creating it and performing it or recording it. In terms of energy, and I don't know, like the title track for me, from the very first moment, it just felt like it wanted to be played in that format. I could find my place in it at once, and whereas like some of the other songs have been more challenging, to be completely honest, like the song Himindotter, which is also in the studio. It has very, like, I don't know how to, maybe this becomes too nerdy, but there are some fine balances in terms of tempo and rhythm and tension, how you build up things, because it's a song that is really slowly building, just step by step. And for me, that was always really difficult to do live. So that's a more challenging...
Why is that difficult?
I don't know. Maybe it was even difficult in the studio for me. But that's, I've discussed it with other people who don't feel it the same way. So it's also about my, I have when I hunt a song, it's very particular how, what I hunt. It can be a feeling. It can be just... Yeah, sometimes it's what you hear, but other times it's also very much about a feeling. And when I don't feel it's right, then yeah.
I think I know the feeling. But so you say it evolved, and some songs you felt didn't work live. Like, what do you do then? Like, as you said earlier, you're very meticulous when you build a set list, and you built the set list. And then you have this one song where you feel it doesn't work.
Well, then I always try to have alternatives. That's the beauty of having six albums. Yeah. So you have but sometimes it can help to move a song to a different place as well. So in the beginning, I would say it's also a bit about finding the footing, not only in just how you perform a song, but where you place it, and it's a trial and error.
I also feel that, tell me if you feel the same, but I also feel that sometimes it depends on the crowd that you're playing in front of, like where they are at that, because a song may not work one day, and then the next day you play perhaps even the same venue or another place just a few miles away, and it works fine.
Yes. And yeah, one thing is the crowd, but also yourself, Of
course.
Like the aforementioned Himindotter song, I could also feel that when there were more Native Americans in the room, on the US tour, then the energy of playing that song was much easier to get in a way, because it has a tonality that is very much closely related to indigenous tonalities, both Sami and which is of course very related to North American indigenous tonality as well. So yeah, I totally agree with you that there are many factors in how this all falls into place or not. But the song Hertan is also a song that I feel, which is one of that was the first of the new songs we introduced, and that also fell into place more easily. well, except for the fact that we, as musicians, we needed to sort of find the balance. There's a lot of different vocals going on there, lots of layers. So figuring out who does what, basically. Yeah.
But so how patient are you with the song that you feel like if you go on tour, you have your set list prepared, and you feel that there's one or two songs maybe that doesn't work? How many chances does that song get before you make any changes?
When it's a new song, I give it a while because I have experience. I have enough experience with it that I know that it can be small things you tweak. So I'm patient. I can be patient with it, but I am also. Then it becomes a process where you work on it. You discuss it a lot. You try to tweak it in different ways. You try placement. But then, yeah.
Plus, also, do you feel sometimes that it takes like a few shows, and then people are kind of trying to get into the song, and then when you get to like a couple of weeks in, you realize that people now have listened to the album more and know the songs more.
Yeah, it's a different thing, when it's all new and fresh and it's new to people, then it's more like I said before, in terms of, then you have an audience that is very listening. I don't mind that because I know that's how it works. Then I know that when we play this song, they won't be as visibly engaged because they're listening in a different way. So I think that's cool also. And I in any case, I actually like that tension when you don't know exactly where the audience is. The first year we did shows, we had like half the concert, all the songs sort of they were faded into each other, so it was more or less continuous, and you could feel that people were really they didn't want to applaud, basically. So we did shows where or most our shows there wasn't any applause until like halfway in the show.
Okay.
That's when you could sense the room, like, for real.
But how was that for you as an artist then?
It was demanding in a way, but like I said, I kind of like that tension because that's what it is. Kind of like a classical concert as well, where you don't want to break the atmosphere and you're not sure if you're allowed to clap or not. And that feeling, it's uncomfortable, but I don't know. Friction is there is some, I don't know. There is some power because that also pushes you to be present in a different way in the song. It pushes you to battle your own insecurities and just be present and give voice to the song.
I totally get that. Yeah.
So once we even did a concert where there were no applause until we were done. In Bergen, that was magical.
Yeah, but Norwegians.
Yeah.
So, how long was the tour? Like how would you summarize the tour in terms of experiences and feelings? I mean, yeah.
Well, the tour itself was. I feel it was. I've been away more than I've been home the last 1.5 years.
Did you do a lot of back-to-back touring?
Well, that's the thing. I feel it was pretty well balanced in terms of, you do a bulk and then you're home and then you go back. So it's been balanced pretty well. But and I travel with beautiful people that I really enjoy spending time with. It's like the extended family.
Yeah.
and I also travel with my son, who is our backline technician, has been for like 3-4 years now. So having part of my inner circle there as well is a bonus, of course. But so it's, I would say it's been both. It is demanding. It is demanding, the tour life, and it is sometimes it's hard to be away from your family. Sometimes it's hard for the family that you're away also. So it's I don't know. It's a mix of wonderful moments and challenges, and so the nature of doing a world tour, which I'm sure you know a lot about yourself, that it is both beautiful and hard, and it has its challenges for sure. But we've been blessed with so many incredible, life-changing, in a way, opportunities and events we've been a part of this period. So I'm filled with gratitude as well.
You said your son is your backline technician and he goes with you on tour. Does the rest of the family ever come out on tour with you as well?
For logistical reasons, that's more challenging when you have because my daughter is still in high school, so they're more tied to the home. So, but of course they come out when it's logistically possible. But hopefully in the future that will be easier as well.
Yeah. But so going back to like experiences and feelings that you carry with you from this tour, like, is there any specific things that that comes to mind that you bring with you for the future, or like?
Yeah, many things. You know, both I don't know, many things. I remember we talked a bit about New Zealand the last time I was here.
Yeah.
That you know what that cultural meeting that I experienced 25 years ago, or when I visited New Zealand for a while and traveled there, and that how much part that actually played in me doing this with Wardruna. That it sort of gave me it sort of made clear what I was missing in my own relation to my culture and history and the nature around me. So it's in a way it gave me direction. It gave a sort of a word to what it is I was hunting in a sense. So going back to New Zealand 25 years after, to sort of complete that cycle, to bring my songs there, that was a really special thing for me on a personal level, especially, and of course, you know, our involvement in the Fire in the Mountains festival at the Blackfoot reservation in Montana. That is also something that made a deep made a deep impact on me, to be there, the way we were welcomed, the feeling of contributing to be a constructive part of helping, and giving voice to something together with them. a really humbling thing to be part of, and also it was moving to see how the Wardruna community gathered. Because we had this collaboration with something called the Firekeeper Alliance, which is a part of that festival, which is a non-profit organization working with kids because of their horribly high suicide rates amongst young people, especially there. So we collaborated with school kids in designing a Wardruna shirt that we first sold. It was to be sold at the festival, but then a lot of people in the Wardruna community wanted us to put it online because they also wanted to support. And
that's great.
Yeah, and we did, and we collected almost $15,000 for. So. Yeah, it's fantastic. It was very moving to see how many people got engaged in. Made me proud to be part of.
Yeah, I can imagine. How long did you stay at the reservation
in Montana?
Montana.
We. What was it? I think I spent about a week there. I got to I rode horses, so I got to experience the beautiful Montana nature from the horseback, and we were part of powwow welcoming ceremony, and got to do some beautiful nature walks with the locals, and it was beautiful.
I know that's very important for you. So, was this like planned for the tour that you do this as a wind down thing, or?
Yeah, in a way it was planned that when we go there, because it's it was sort of a separate thing. Separate from the tour,
okay.
So which was a good thing, because then it allowed us to have a few days extra there to actually be present during the whole festival, and of course it's also a festival that is you're not allowed to drink alcohol there. Because of the reservation, that the laws there, which I have to say, it's the best festival I have ever been on.
Oh, really?
For that reason, there were it was kind of a leave no trace. This was on their sacred ground. We were allowed to have this festival, so coming there and respecting the rules and laws, and also to leave no trace. There were no litter any of the days. Everyone contributed, but also for us musicians, when there isn't alcohol involved, you can enjoy the festival like everyone else, and that was it was a long time since I've been able to actually go see shows, and
you always wind up standing on stage watching. If you're gonna watch someone.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually I hope more festivals do it, to be honest, because also I think you will enjoy and remember more of the shows you see. Don't be scared of it.
Yeah, I hear you. So, talking a bit about the album, what was the first spark behind Birna?
I don't know. It wasn't like one thing. I think it was something that gradually grew. I don't know. It's something I started thinking about when I was doing the album before, actually, because then also I was very much in the animal world, and I don't know. At some point in that process, I just I didn't have a clear idea what I wanted to say, but I knew that the next album I wanted to give voice to the bear. That was sort of and then I just put it aside, and that's, you know, that I think that's what I spent most time on this album, was actually finding out, because I knew so strongly that this is what I want to do, but I didn't know how I wanted to say what I wanted to say. And it was a long process of, I do a lot of research into everything I work on, you know, also from the academic point of view, and I studied a lot about the history of the man bear, the human and bear relation throughout time, not only here in the north, but wherever there are bears, basically.
Yeah.
And of course our in later history, in the sagas, etc., and in folklore, and it's such a, I don't know, the more I read, the more the more confused I got, because it's such a web and tangle of different traditions in different times. And of course, in certain periods, that becomes, that relation between man and bear has also been pretty problematic. So I don't know. The more I studied, the more I realized that this album would be that. I sort of left the human aspect of it more out of it, and the historical aspect, I put it aside, because the bear doesn't need it to be its own magnificent self. And I you know, the thing with bears is that wherever they are, they influence the human sphere in so many different ways. They are so present in our folklore, in our mythical content, in our stories, in our burial ceremonies, in our warrior ceremonies, in our hunting ceremonies. So I'd rather go into to see, you know, dive into what it is about the bear that created all of these. Why was it that before we had, written stories, we placed them in the stars? You know, wherever they are, that you have the star images of the bears, the ever present.
Yeah.
So yeah. So. And of course, part of why they are so central is because they are so profoundly cyclical. They sort of mimic the movements of the year so perfectly with their winter sleep.
Yeah, the hibernation.
Yeah. They mirror Mother Earth so poetically. These movements of going back to the womb, in a sense, and then the rebirth, and which are present in many different movements in nature. You know, the salmon swims upstream to the place it was born to spawn and die. It's so poetic, and yeah. That's the story I wanted to tell. I wanted to sort of strip away the human aspect of it, because, we're kind of the problem.
So did you go mostly for the animal perspective, or was it like the symbolism, or like something more personal?
Well, it's both, because I think the bear teaches us that we humans are also cyclic, even though our society, the way we live, sort of demands us not to be. It demands the same tempo. We eat the same food all year around, every day. And when when that doesn't work, we just have to push through.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's that's contrary to what every other being on this planet does.
Yeah.
So I think it teaches us. It's a beautiful reminder of just that. So when I'm singing about the bear, or we are singing about the bear in this album, there is always a layer of us joining the bear on this journey. That's what I sing in Birna as well. Can I borrow your hide just for one day? And carry your weight, in a sense. So at any point, you can ask the question if I'm singing about a human, or is it a bear, or is it nature, Mother Earth, and that's also why I wanted, why I called it Birna, which is the female, the she bear, because I feel then you more clearly see the connection to Mother Earth. And to that whole cyclical, death, rebirth, life, the whole circle. I felt I could tell that story much more clearly with a female aspect.
Yeah. So, but you said that the bear obviously means a lot of things in different cultures, and you wanted to strip away the human aspect of the bear.
Yeah, in the sense of what, for us, it's meant a lot of different things in different times.
Yeah.
And to sort of single out one thing was challenging in a way, because of for me, history is something I think we have the potential of doing better now than before. So if I was to like cherry pick certain things from that history and make an album about that, when I know the whole history, which is so fucking problematic up until this day, I don't know. It didn't resonate in me. So that's what I mean. I would rather, give voice to what it is about the bear that impacts us humans so much throughout the ages. Why we wanted to be buried in bearskin.
Yeah.
Why we wanted to borrow the bear's hide when going into battle, why we placed them in the sky to watch over. All of those things. So that's what I mean with removing, because the bear doesn't need us. The bear doesn't borrow strength from us in a sense to be its own perfect self. It is the other way around, and I think we need. They can be great teachers to us.
Yeah. What was your? I mean, how did the bear's meaning change for you personally in this process? Because you said going into it, you had a feeling that you wanted to give the bear a voice, but I gather from what you're saying that it was a process to getting to know the bear, both mythologically and like biologically, but also on a very personal level. Like,
it becomes, of course, because it's. I try to internalize everything I work with. It has to come from a place that is real, and going into a lot of these older stories, these older traditions, they didn't kind of. Many of them were interesting. Most of them were sad, and at the same time, the interesting ones, they didn't really resonate with me today? You know, how can I use this today? Where is and how, what does it say about the bear actually? So it gave me more to read about the bear itself, you know, to go into the scientific world, so I would say and you know, when we create, it's always with Wardruna, the creative concept is always about trying to interpret something on its own premises. So realizing that when a bear goes into hibernation, it doesn't really go into hibernation per definition. It goes into this semi-hibernative state where it lowers its heart rate to around 9-10 beats per minute. Now that's useful. Then I know what tempo I have in you know. Then I know the pulse that I am to use when I give voice to the hibernation on in my story. So I chose 9, of course. And a lot of these things, you know, going into the music history as well. I wanted to. I always use different lyre instruments, but on this album I traveled more east to Finland, to Estonia, Russia,
bear country.
Yeah, bear country, where you of course have the kantele or gushli or kankles. It has different names, which also, I don't know, it has this dreamlike, clear, metallic sound to it as well. That I felt was a really gave a really beautiful contrast in the soundscape. So that, of course, was an important part too, or a decisive factor. That's what I mean. And of course, the goat's horn, because of this simple, almost like kiddie rhyme, where it said that the bear hates the sound of the long horse, the lur, but he loves the sound of the goat horn. That you can actually call the bear, with the goat's horn. So of course, that was an instrument we chose to use quite a bit on certain parts where it made conceptually sense. So I don't know. I try to do different angles, both academically in terms of the thematics. So in this case, it was both the historical aspect, which is of course present, but it's not the dominating factor. There are, of course, these hints back to our historical, using their skins and you know, becoming them in a sense. That's something we have always felt a kinship to them, or not always, but at a certain point in our traditions, we did. So that part I definitely wanted to have present in the album. So the academic part, both in terms of the themes, but also the music, of course, the being a bear-themed album, that is then that's part of what decides what instruments we use, and can be rhythms, can be whatever. And then the scientific things about bears. So I've read a lot about bears.
I can tell. That's amazing. It's amazing to see how deep you can go into a subject to just to create this concept. But so is there a track on Birna that feels like an emotional center of the album, would you say?
Oh, I don't know. I feel in a way, perhaps in one way the song, the opening song has sort of, because the opening song is almost like it tells the story of the whole album between a heartbeat, between breathing in and breathing out. That's sort of the idea in a weird way. The sort of death and rebirth. You become all of these cycles that happens in nature and on the album, of course, you become them. So it's sort of an introduction to the story you're being brought into. Perhaps also the title track Birna has this. There is this. The song is in a way just a dialogue between man and bear, which is written in almost like a more folky way than I normally write my poetry. In a sense, it's more light-hearted, but underneath it is a very it's very heavy. The music is very heavy. So I like that contrast between the light-hearted lyrics, but the heavy musical feeling of it, and I guess also Himindotta, which is sort of a plea in a sense that ends on quite some direct messages to our times, and and some might think that because the first part of the album is very clearly about the bear, but then you have 3 more songs that sort of are on the outside of that. And how does that work? But they do have a place, and they are there for a reason. Where because it's more about going into the premise of understanding the value of bears, and like Lyfjaberg is the healing mountain. It's a song about cost and value, that anything of any true value here in life comes at a cost. That's how life works. You can't walk up a hill without going uphill. That's impossible. You can't climb a mountain without going uphill. And if you don't understand the value of preserving nature intact, then you won't accept the cost. And the other parts are more about how nature speaks through you, how you can listen, how you can connect to your surroundings in a sense. So they're there for a reason, even though seemingly they might seem a bit on the side. But yeah.
Would you say that goes into the underlying theme then of man and nature in a way that you talked about earlier?
Yeah. Or nature and man.
Nature and man.
Yeah.
Is there I mean, obviously, well, from what you're saying, it seems to me that this is the theme of the whole album in a way, the underlying theme at least. What was it that drew you to this specific topic in the first place? Was there any specific reason why this became important at this time?
Well, in terms of this album, for in a way, looking back, I feel like it was the bear who came to me in a sense, and I didn't, because that feeling of just, I know I need to make an album around this
that
theme.
Evolved?
Yeah, because I got it. I sort of really knew that I wanted, but I had no clue how and what I was going to say. So I just put it to the side, and that whole long journey and actually finding its voice. So that's what it kind of feels like, that it came to me in a sense. Then I had to find it again. Okay. But I don't know, for me, our music in many ways has always been about that. Been about our relation to nature and to nature itself. Described in using the images of the runes on the first 3 albums, which, so maybe it has been more in the background, more in the overarching themes of each individual song or theme, whereas now it's in it's the main character, and more. I speak more clearly, or we speak more clearly about these things. So it's something that just evolved, I think, and be crystallized. And of course, I'm not the same person as I was. When I started this, so of course the music has to evolve as well, and it has to, it has to come from a real place, a desire to say something. And I feel that, what's happening around us and how our place as humans in nature sort of is developing these days, that also pushes the need to say something or to give voice to something that and for me that's I like doing it. I don't like doing it in a way where you say what people shouldn't do.
Yeah,
I'd rather just give voice to something beautiful, something worth preserving, something worth remembering or experiencing that you're a part of. Or I don't know. I feel that's more constructive in a way than yelling at people what they should and should not do. Yeah. I don't like preaching, and I don't like to be told what to do either. No. So I learn by being inspired, by feeling. We think that we experience life through our brain, but we don't. We experience life through our emotions, and so if you really want to make change, then you need to speak to people's emotions.
And you can tell, because when you walk into nature, that's when you're going to feel your true emotions about things.
Absolutely. The more time you spend there, the more you understand that you are, that it's part of you. That there is, cutting flat an old forest. You're not cutting your forest. It's not the forest you're hurting. It is also you. That's what you start to realize when you the more you are in nature, you realize that it's you.
Yeah. So going back to this, then, did working on Birka change the way you yourself relate to nature in any way?
I like that you as a Swede said Birka instead of Birna.
Mindfuck. I was reading.
It's
Birna, of course. Yeah. It's too close.
Yeah, it's too close. Yeah. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Birka is birch, but not bear. But Birna, did working on Birna change the way you yourself relate to nature?
Yes. I think so. I think all these deep dives into oneself, into such a, in my opinion, important part of into this important sort of shepherd of the woodlands, which is what we used to view it as, of course that has impacted me, and I've learned so much about also myself. It has been a reminder of many things, like remembering and being more aware of my own cyclical nature. You know, I think we are like being a creative person as well. You know, it's like it's like a lung. You have the expansion, but in order to have that expansion, you need to retract and take a breath and go back, and you know, and that's an important lesson. Also, one that I you know, in my own work, it's so easy to push the expansion to be all the time, because that's in a way what the industry demands of you in certain time at certain points. So it can, which is why I think a lot of people burn out as well. Good. So remembering to inhale
and exhale.
Yes,
important.
Not only exhale.
You also recently released a documentary called Tracking Birna. Can you tell us about the documentary?
Yes. Well, it's I've always been quite restrictive, perhaps, in terms of not, you know, inviting people into what happens behind us. I don't want that to sort of take away focus or demystify, or, you know, not that it's so mystical, but in lack of a better word, and mostly because I don't want what happens behind the stage to take the focus from what happens on the stage. At the same time, I feel very much that what happens on that stage is very much represented by what happens behind the stage. So it felt like the right thing to do, to also open, to give a glimpse into that bubble, because, you know, when we go on stage, it's not we're don't go on stage wearing masks and costumes. We dress. We're not. I don't. You dress up for it, but it's not a costume. It's just more you give it a frame, and we come as 100% ourselves, which is so important for me. And so in that sense, it doesn't. I don't know. It felt just the right time to open up in a glimpse into the bubble, basically, into our the Wardruna family, in a sense, to get a. Yeah, and also, you know, it's mostly me giving interviews and talking about these things, but there are a lot of other people involved as well, with their own stories into this, their own perspectives, their own experience. Yeah, and one thing is the band, which is the visible part of what happens. But around us, none of that would be possible if it weren't for the fact that we have an amazing team around us, our crew, our management team, and other people also around us. So having them part of this, I think it's a really nice thing to show that. It's a very genuine, honest documentary, and of course, even though it's not in the documentary, it's worth mentioning also that what a lot of people don't realize is also in this where you have all the people around the band, the families who are home.
Of course,
yeah. It's easy to forget, but it's such a I could not do this without that support.
It literally takes a village.
Yeah, definitely. So and telling that story too is a really nice thing, and we had so it's made by one of the people working with our PR person, Letitia Abanes, and also a photographer who have been traveling with us quite a bit.
How long?
Well, at least for I think the first time he worked with us was at the start of this tour. So a year and a half. He was part of this tour for quite, or maybe he was even there on the tour before, actually. I can't remember that, but in any case, it's made by people who were already part of the circle in a way. So it's people. It's not like external people who have come to tell our story. It's us telling our story in a way, and it's done with people we are relaxed around. The interviews doesn't feel like interviews in a sense. We're just talking to people we know. And there happened, of course there is a camera there, but which is, but I don't know, all of these things made it made it feel like the right made me want to loosen the grip a little bit.
But how was it, like, letting people? You say that it's like people who are basically part of the family in a way, but still you're letting people so close into a world that is arguably very, very personal, with very personal moments. How does that feel? Like, did you ever get worried about that?
No, to be honest, I try to separate my personal life a lot to my professional life. I rarely, even though people know I'm a family man. But it's not something I talk a lot about, and
but I mean, there must be personal moments on tour as well. Where,
that's what I mean. That those lines, I don't want them to steal focus from. At the same time, it's we are human beings also on that stage, and we are ourselves on that stage as well. So that's what I mean. That perhaps I've been too strict about it in a sense, but at the same time, it's a balance, and that was, of course, a discussion along the way as well. As you say, a tour is many different things. Also, it's challenging. I find it very exhausting in the sense, I don't know, I can't half-ass it, you know. So it's every time it's the same intensity. It's pouring your heart out, and that's and that makes you, or it makes me very sensitive and tired. It demands me to rest a lot in between. So of course, and then of course life can happen. And it did. in a sense also. Not that we need to give that a lot of focus, but it's part of the documentary as well, because when mid tour on the last leg, I lost my father.
Oh, I'm sad to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. So life happens also when you're on tour.
Yes.
And that was, of course, it's challenging. But also, it was also beautiful in a way, because you have to dig deep, and perhaps dig deeper. But I don't know. Having a lot of beautiful people around you doing what we do is also very rewarding, you know. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard, especially, of course, to sing Helvägen.
I can imagine
the first night, or every night. Yeah, it gave it became very real, you know. But at the same time, I sang Helvägen I sang for my father, of course, but I did it when I wasn't on stage, because I think that's it's even though it's personal, you know, I didn't want it to be when I do that on stage, that's not about me. That's about something that is much bigger. So that's what I mean. I try to separate.
Yes.
But
of
course,
I guess you kind of have to as well.
Yeah.
In a situation like that.
Yeah. You have to sort of keep focus and do it, make it into something beautiful, because it is also beautiful, and it's natural, and it is it is just such a multifaceted event in life that is just a part of it.
Yeah, I totally understand. And as I said, I'm really sorry to hear that. I know your father meant a lot to you. So
yeah.
But were there any times then that you regretted starting the whole project with the documentary? No.
It was so smooth. It was done by, like I said, really, really people that, and it was very well organized. They all, you know, having traveled with us, and even going into, you know, the logistics of making a tour documentary, it demanded a lot of planning in terms of where we can film what and who we can interview when. Because, like, for my sake as well, I do very little interviews when I'm on tour, because I can, you know, the day after a concert, the voice is like an open wound, and the worst thing I can do is talk a lot. Then, so I think it was very well executed and planned by good people. So it felt like, it felt very non-invasive.
Okay.
Which, So if you ever do it, then do it with people who are already part of that circle, and make a good plan.
Yeah.
And
So where can people watch this documentary?
That's on our the Wardruna YouTube channel.
Okay.
That's where we publish it recently. So I hope people want to check it out.
Cool. Yeah. So we already talked a little bit about this, the importance of exhaling of getting time off to get back into it. So what role does silence or stillness play in your creative life?
It's very important because music is very often something I hear, and it howls from silence, and silence in a wider context, because silence is also for me about the tempo. It's also about space, and having space for it to howl. If it's all noise and all tempo, no, then you have to chase it, and that works for a while. But I think you will. I think the well will dry up if you do that too much. So this whole touring an album, without having time for life, for family, for stillness, for thinking about other things, for being inspired again, finding things you want to say, and not always chasing. I think that's important, but it's also challenging when you experience success, because very often you get the the more success you have, the more interesting doors are open for you, the more interesting offers you get. So where in the beginning it was really important for me to say no, because most of the offers that came, I didn't feel fit, but along the way it's the other way around, and then it's about saying no because you have to claim space, and not burn out.
And it's easy to bleed the energy and focus.
Yes. It is. So
sorry, I interrupted you.
No, but it's you're confirming exactly what I'm thinking. So it's so for me now, this is definitely what I need now. It's been so intense for a long time. So the need to just be able to think playfully about also, if I at what point there will for sure be a break from touring now, and but just being creative with that, because now I claim space and time to actually think properly through that. How I want people to experience Wardruna live the next time we do a tour. And there hasn't really been a time to do that properly for a long time now, to actually think about those things. So it's something I really enjoy thinking about as well. How to be creative and.
So you come off tour, you go into stillness and silence, but when do you know that it's time to go back into creative mode and start working on stuff? Like, how does that come to you?
No, I don't know. My main muse for creating music is very often walking. But I do feel that now it's been a while where I've actually had the need to just like not think about things that I've been so obsessively thinking about for a long time, which is really nice actually to but also a bit scary. I have to because Yeah, the nightmare would be to not be inspired to do anything again. But I can feel that now that I'm a bit out of tour mode again. I can feel the sort of the itch.
The itch coming. Yeah.
Yeah, like the curiosity. You know, yeah. And words and phrases and poetry starting to come, but I'm not gonna start chasing anything yet. So hopefully I'm in a place now where I'm just gonna let things roll in its own tempo for a while, and then and then when it feels right, then we go into hunter mode again.
So do you see your work as a spiritual like practice, or like a spiritual work, even for people who are not don't identify as religious? I mean, going back to
in a way, I think spirituality can be something. I don't necessarily see that as a religious thing, and in that sense, my relation to my work is deeply spiritual. It is deeply philosophical, so that's definitely part of it. It's but I try to, in the music also there is a line where I separate what is my own and what is, I think it's I try to find perspective and angles that where it becomes relevant, whether or not you have a spiritual or a philosophical or even a religious or just a musical way in to it. It makes sense in any way, if you know what I mean.
I think I do.
I try. I like to, but in any case, it's nature, and this Christian theology where God is above nature. That's not my cup of tea.
No.
For me, God is nature, or whatever you wish to call it, or however you wish to view it. In any case, if it's whatever you call the invisible parts of it, the world is relational. And we're part of that.
Would you call yourself like an animist? Like, is that the view you take on this?
Yeah, but in a way, it's in lack of a better word, because that is a phrase that is it has like a color.
It does, yes.
And especially the old school definition of it has very much a color, but even using it now, it's in lack of a better word, I deeply believe that the world is a place where relations happen, and I don't exclude animals and plants into that equation. Yeah, we all affect each other, and we're all equally important. And nature is sacred, in my personal opinion, and that's an attitude.
Yeah,
an attitude I think the world benefits from. So I can say that without, being a preacher of any dogmas. That's just,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I understand exactly what you mean. So when you say nature is sacred, obviously we talked about this today and also in our previous podcast, but nature is very important for you, as you say, and recording in natural environments is essential, I guess, to Wardruna. So how does place influence the creative process, like location, place
and space? Yeah, it is important. And when I say sacred, in a way, it would be better to use the Nordic word for it, which is heilag or heil, which means whole, complete. And that's kind of the sense that I'm using the word. So when I'm saying sacred, I mean it's whole, it's holy. But like I said, it is the theme that sort of defines a lot of the meters and the angles I approach when I create music. And of course, one thing is the instruments, the words, time of day, time of year. If I play on stones, on trees, or leaves, or bark, or fire, all of these things, but also, of course, place. So if I can go to a place and record, if I can record in a place that, for whatever reason, makes sense to the theme I'm working with, of course I will do that. Anything and everything to sort of to bring to invite the audience closer to the theme. It's added value, and whether or not you perceive it as a conscious thing or not, it's there, and you would notice the difference because it's there. It's like how you used to view songs, poetry, runes in a oral society. That's what the power of song and poetry. Why it was real was because saying something or naming a person makes it physical in a sense. It's a different view. I explained it a bit poorly, but
no, I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think there is great. I think there is more wisdom in that than people today tend to think. Just for the reason that the world is relational, and we do affect each other with what we say and how we do. It's just that I don't believe that things. I don't like the word supernatural. It's just natural. It's just that we don't things we don't understand or can measure. We tend to call supernatural. Overtro.
Yeah, supernatural or.
Yes, so it's just. I
was trying to find a different word for it, but
but I can't remember what I was talking about, to be honest.
I'm sorry maybe that was my fault, but
No.
I felt like you made perfect sense, anyways.
Good.
But how then, like you say, you work a lot with soundscapes and it's like evolving soundscapes and stuff like that. But how do you decide when a piece is complete? When do you know?
That's a discipline. And because you can work on a song forever, basically. If you're, that was actually very, very challenging for me. That's something I've had to learn and evolve that skill to set a period, to say that this is what it's supposed to be, and trusting because it's also about that trusting that that you're there. But then that is also why I like to, when I go in studio or when I work with an album, I don't do like a lot of artists. They go into studio and then they're there for a month or two or a week or whatever, write the material and record it. For me, I need to do it in bulks. So I go into that mode. I record, but then I go back and let it stay and don't relate to it, don't listen to it, and then I revisit. So I work in these bulks, and then when I get closer to when I have to deliver something, those last like 6 months, and then I will go more intensively and stay there and eat, sleep, drink, breathe the songs. But it allows me to have that perspective more easily as well when something is done, when it feels like, this is how it needs to be, how it's supposed to be.
So you said earlier that your creative juices are tingling a little bit. What are the plans for Wardruna right now?
I could tell you, but then I would have to kill you.
Oh,
no. No, there aren't actually anything that I can talk too much about. There are things in the works, but it's gonna move slowly still. Yeah. So for now, the most but yeah. So for now, we're doing like this big concert in Oslo, in this beautiful Outlook place in Oslo. We're doing that in early June, together with a few really nice artists. Mari Boine Gåte is doing the acoustic set, and Sara Parkman, Swedish folk musician, and Avestaden. So we're doing this sort of Nordic night thing, which is going to be our only concert in Norway for the foreseeable future, and one of very few concerts we're gonna do in the time to come. And then there is a few other things. So we're sort of gonna be out and about in between, and stuff is gonna happen in the shadows for now. But it's all in a comfortable pace, and where there is space for life and for letting creativity come to me.
Yeah, but in the meantime, if people want to get their Wardruna on, they need to go to Oslo then.
I would say, that's go to Oslo.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. But all only for our concert.
Yeah, okay.
Because
So, since you were the very first guest on this show, we actually never got to ask you a couple of questions that have more or less become signature questions for this podcast. Okay. And these are the really, really tough ones, by the way. So, it's 2 questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. First one. If you could go back in time and be a fly on the wall during any event during the Viking Age, or at any place during the Viking Age, what would you like to witness or experience?
Viking Age?
Yeah.
Then it would have to be a scythe ritual.
Why?
Because the sources are so meticulously accurate about saying everything. It sort of describes everything but the act, and there are a lot of threads and hints, and throughout the sources and in later lore and in archaeology, there are a lot of suggestions and hypotheses and of course things we can fairly clearly see patterns of or assume, but there are still many unanswered questions, and of course for me, I've never been had much interest in swords and spears and battles and stuff like that. For me, it's always been the esoteric part that has piqued my interest. So for sure, that was actually an easy question.
All right. Maybe this next one then will be harder.
Bring it.
Would you have wanted to live back in the Viking Age?
No. Definitely not.
All right, why not?
No, who I'm not. No. I don't have a romantic relation to the past. So in one way, I would love to live in a version of it. For the mere fact that we lived closer to nature, and we had started the process of fucking everything up, but we weren't that far into it. So for that reason, of course, it's tempting to say yes, but I don't think we need to fool anyone. It was brutal. It was hard. It was such a battle to just survive, and
I think also it's important to remember that if you would be magically transported back in time, and to live there, family and connections was everything, and you would have nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you were there as yourself, your present version, the present me would get
you wouldn't
crushed.
survive a week, probably.
No.
I wouldn't.
Crushed like a twig. No, we would be fucked. Yeah. So no, I think I'll stay here and deal with today's problems.
But on a follow-up question to that, then you said they lived closer to nature. They had begun to fuck it up. But do you think that humanity, where we are today, considering everything that's going on in the world, do you think there is a chance for humanity to find its way back to live closer to nature in that way?
Not in that way, but the question is, was there ever a time where we didn't overspend resources, because our need to sort of control our environment, because you needed to in order to survive, that need has sort of pushed the limits, and is still pushing the limits. So I don't know. We have to start learning from the past, and there has to be a willingness to change. And I think, I don't know, maybe a form of it.
Maybe it's not regression we need, but progression.
Yeah, exactly. That time is never going to return, if there ever were such a time. I know there are indigenous cultures that have always been really good at, not overspending, and always like, what I'm trying to say is that we were never part of that gang, as far as we know, at least.
As far as we know, that's true. Well, it's a very great way to end this podcast. Thank you so much for coming back and for talking to us, and all the best for the future for Wardruna, and looking forward to some new material. And to everyone at home, go check out the documentary on your YouTube channel and the album Birna.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
Thank you. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this episode, check out our other episodes on our YouTube channel, Spotify, and other podcast streaming services. And also, subscribe to support our work. Thanks for listening.